Hello, and welcome back to Unfiltered Dissent, the podcast where creators challenge the narrative and boldly speak truth to power. Dissent isn't just disagreement, it's democracy in action. I'm Amy Zellmer, author, activist, and unapologetic truth teller. This is a space for creators and activists who stand in opposition to mega extremism and the forces trying to silence us. If you are someone who wants to resist injustice, this podcast is for you. Here, we say the quiet parts out loud. No censorship, no sugarcoating, just raw, unfiltered truth. So let's get into it. Today's guest is AndrewJD, and we're talking about the abuses of the Trump administration. Andrew is a liberal streamer and short form video creator who focuses on legal and constitutional issues, as well as defending the principles and institutions of our liberal democracy. So, welcome, Andrew. So happy to have you here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we are also both part of the Unfuck America tour.
We are.
So I know we're both looking forward to America Fest in December.
Yeah.
So, Andrew, maybe tell us a little bit about how you got into political advocacy and how this all started for you.
I've been pretty, I don't know if politically active would be the right word, but like I've been interested in politics since I was like in high school, like my pretty much my whole life. Um, but in the main years that I probably would have started making political content, I was in the military. And now I know that this principle has kind of left the building in recent times, but there was a time where military service members weren't supposed to be blasting their the military wasn't politicized. We weren't supposed to be talking about our
Hmm.
political views online and stuff. Now I know that's gone now, but at least during the time that I was in, that was still the case. So I kept up with politics, still watched a bunch of political creators, still cared about everything. I just didn't do content. And pretty much as soon as I got out of I was in the Navy. As soon as I got out, I started making, political content, and it did infinitely better than I expected, like very quickly. Um, and so I've continued on, and since then I've joined the Unfuck America tour, um, which is awesome. And yeah, I think mostly what it is I've always wanted to do it, but because of my being in the military, I couldn't.
Hmm.
And so when I got out, I was like, I'll give it a try, not expecting anything. And then just seeing like actually like the amount of people that would send me messages and be like, you actually changed my mind on this, or, like, thanks for informing me
Yeah.
about this, this or that. Um, like I think that was like a real signal to me, like, oh, like I didn't think that I'd be able to make any sort of impact, but I think maybe I can. So I've, just been pushing harder and harder every day,
Hmm.
trying to do what I can, do my part.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I get a lot of messages like, what can I do? I'm just one person. And, but honestly, one voice, like, can be amplified, right? Like we've
Yeah.
seen, we both have fairly large followings on Insta and TikTok. And like it is amazing, like when you get those messages like you helped me change my mind or you helped me see that I was wrong or whatever, like it really is a powerful testament to what one voice really can do. um and I know you speak a lot on the legal and constitutional side of things, and so I'm curious like what your background is for that, or if it's just simply having been in the military.
Um, that is part of it. That is part of it. I made this joke before, and the more time passes and we see certain stuff that the Trump administration has done, especially with the politicization of the military. Um,
Mm,
I've made this joke
yeah.
before, but it was a joke, and now I don't think it is a joke. Where I said like, I think the amount of people that when we the amount of enlisted military members that when they first join and they go up and they say their oath of enlistment, I feel like the amount of people that are actually listening to the words they're saying and taking it seriously is like sub 20%. Like it just feels that way to me where I'm just like, do you guys, when I see the National Guard deployments, especially the more egregious ones like National Guard from Texas going into Portland, I'm like, do you guys not remember when you took your
Right.
oath? Do you not remember the words you said? Um, and again, like I when I I think the first time I had ever said that in a video or on stream or something was maybe like 6 months ago, and it was a joke then. I don't know if it is now. I think I was actually just inadvertently correct.
Right.
I'm like, oh, it sounds
Right.
like maybe I am one of the few that took it seriously when I said it. Defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't remember hearing anything about defending the president in there, you know.
Hmm.
Like yes, my having been in the military maybe has some effect on my defense of the Constitution, but it mostly started before that. I've always been I was like a super huge history nerd in school. I think history was probably the only subject I did well in high school. I've just always been a lover of history. I love the principles of our country, how our country was formed. I think the Constitution is like the single greatest government forming document in the history of the world. And to see it just getting kind of spat on
Yeah.
is really disheartening. And so, I think that's just a lane I decided to take up of like, okay, I'm just gonna make my goal to make as many people see why, to show as many people as I can why it's not okay to just get rid of this. People take this view of like, well, it's like a it's like a 240 something year old document. Like why would why do we need why should we care about something that old? Like the world's changed since then. Um, the answer to that is because the Constitution, at least like when we're talking about like the Bill of Rights, was never meant to be like a prescription for how to live your life 300 years in the future, 400 years in the future, 500 years in the future. It's supposed to, all it says is, hey, here's a list of things that the government should never be allowed to do to you.
Hmm.
Uh, and you should never accept these things. You should never accept the government limiting your freedom of speech. You should never accept the government. The one that gets memed on all the time is, forcing the quartering of troops in your house because that's like the most unapplicable.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like the most unapplicable part of the Bill of Rights today. Um, and there's no amount of time that can pass that would make those principles not true anymore, right? So it's when people say like, what's it's 200 something years old, why do we care? I'm like, no, you really should care because all it seeks to do is prevent the government from abusing you, and there's no amount of time that's going to change that fact.
And I also think they were so brilliant when they wrote it, realizing that too, that like it's, these words are to be, you know, transcribed into the current day, right?
Mhm.
So like 300 years from now, choose the wording that you need, right? And I just think that was the foresight of them, of our forefathers, was so incredible in the Constitution
And
too.
you should thank
Um,
North Carolina. North Carolina, if you love the Constitution, North Carolina should be your favorite state because they're at least maybe not the sole, but North Carolina is certainly the biggest reason we got the at least the Bill of Rights. So based North Carolina. North Carolina was the only
yeah.
state that was like when the Constitution was being ratified. North Carolina was like, yeah, we're not. No, if you don't put a Bill of Rights in this thing, we're not signing on. And so they did.
And going back to military and speaking out, uh, it's been interesting to see the amount of military or former retired, whatever, military folks, when Trump had his big meeting of the generals last week. I think it was just last week.
Mhm.
Um, you know, like what are your thoughts on that meeting? Like nothing like this has ever happened before in history. Um,
Yeah, we
and the
find
amount
ourselves saying that a lot these days, huh?
right.
Um, yeah, nothing like that. Nothing like this has ever happened in history, and there's good reason for that. Um, the problem is my biggest issue with the Trump administration is you ever watched Ben Shapiro at all?
Rare occasion, but
I
yeah,
was
I know
a
who he is.
I was a lot more conservative when I was younger in the high school stuff. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, so I'm in like farm country, cornfield, Ohio. So it's not overly surprising that that's the case. But I grew up a lot more conservative, and I think the political influencer I watched the most when I was growing up was Ben Shapiro, and he has this phrase that he loves, and it's horrifically inaccurate today. I used to believe it, and he might have even been right at a time. Maybe when I was even maybe the 2013, 14, 15, maybe he was right, but today not even close. But he has this phrase. about the differences between liberals and Republicans, right? And it goes something along the lines of a liberal will see a sign in the middle of the forest and they'll say, "Hey, that's not supposed to be there," and immediately take it down, right? A Republican will see the same sign and say, "Hey, let me go find out why this is here before I do anything." The idea being that Republicans were supposed to be the party of before we change stuff, before we start doing, stuff that's out of the norm, let's let's think about and go and find out why this was ever here to begin with. And so we talk about this principle of non-politicization of the military. And there's a version of the Republican Party that at least used to exist that would have seen this and been like, why don't we want the military involved in politics at all? Like, what's the reason for that? This current version doesn't care whatsoever at all. All of this to say, there is a really good reason why we don't want this. Okay, there's an incredible reason why we don't want this. You don't want the I talk about this with police, and it's equally as true with cops as it is with the military. You don't want, if you're a citizen, you don't want to know that 90% of the fighting force that's meant to protect you from outside threats hates you. That's not info you want to have, and that's not info you ever
Right.
should have, right? I made this thing. I made a video about this right after Charlie Kirk's assassination. I saw a video going viral of a cop in uniform, by the way, crazy, talking about how like it's the left's fault that Kirk got assassinated and that we're about to
Yeah.
have what he was like
Within
yeah
minutes of it
you
happening.
guys did this, we're coming for you, we're gonna get you, and this is a police officer in his
Yes.
uniform. And now
Yes.
the principle I look at is now think about if you say I don't know where this guy's from, I don't care, loser, but think about if you live in, say, a small town. I grew up in a small town. I knew all the cops in my town, right? So say you're in a small town and you're a liberal and you see this video and you know that this guy is one of your police officers. Do you believe at all anymore? Can you have faith anymore that if you need help, that this guy is going to help you?
Right.
This guy
Right.
who's it's his whole job to protect you. Do you believe anymore that he will? And it's the same principle with the military, right? When we start politicizing the military and you turn your TV on and you see these rallies he's having. He just did one at well, Trump just did one here where I live, down at the Navy base. He just did one with the Navy where he's politicizing the shit out of the Navy. I think at one point during this speech to all these sailors, he says something along the lines of the Democrats are a fly that needs to be swatted, something like that to
Yep.
all these sailors, right? Say you're a non-politically active liberal and you're just you're along for the ride, you vote blue, whatever, and you turn your TV on, you see this, you see Donald Trump saying the Democrats are a fly that needs to be swatted, surrounded by military members just all over the place, and they're trained seals clapping along like idiots. Do you believe anymore, do you have any faith whatsoever that those guys are going to protect you when it comes down to it?
Mm,
Of
right.
course you don't. This is why we have this principle. And so for me, as someone that was in the Navy, and but the base that he did that speech on, I worked there less than a year ago, right? So I'm like the familiarity struck hard. I'm like, damn, I like a year ago in my life, I was working at exactly where he's doing the speech. I probably know some of the guys in that crowd, to be honest. Um, to see that, it's just I'm like, I cannot believe where we are right now. I can't believe it. It's like we've forgotten. We have
Hmm.
The reason I bring up the Ben Shapiro thing is because, like I said, there was a time in my life where I would have believed that that was accurate, but it's not even close anymore. No, of course not. But I'm like, have we forgotten all of the principles that we
Yeah.
used to hold dear? I guess we have.
Yeah. And I think, talking about that officer, and within minutes of Charlie's assassination, we had all like Laura Loomer, like all these people were blasting the left and saying that they were going to have revenge on us, and like they
Yeah,
were they were inciting violence against the left, and we had zero information on the shooter.
yeah,
Like they hadn't even been captured yet. We had no idea.
yeah,
Like it was so reckless. And and Trump at his little rally, your Navy rally, the flies, liberals are flies that need to be swatted. Like there's just this. friction of left and right, and the right just eats it up.
Yeah.
And they think that the left is the violent party. And I mean, I think there's violence at both extremes. But like how do we come back from this? Like it's scary right now where our country is at. And I'm currently living in a very Trumpy area.
Yeah.
And it's
Me
kind
too.
of scary.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember a day where you could be friends. Like I had friends that were Republicans, and it's not even that long ago. And
Yeah.
we could have a cordial conversation about politics. That doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Um, it's funny the violence thing. I think more like if more than anything else, the point that I like try to draw, or like the point I try to make with the even like telling the whole story of like, do we forget our principles, is that I I say we have, right? I make that point. I say, yeah, like clearly Republicans have forgotten all the reasons why we have these certain things in place. But I don't even know if I believe that truly. Because one of the most probably disgusting things that I've noticed is when after Charlie was killed and the right went on this what I think ended up being like the biggest doxing spree in the
Mm.
history of the world. The
Mm-hmm.
argument, obviously, they were getting a lot of criticism. Like, yeah, why are you, what, like, in what universe are you like calling people's employers to try to get them fired for like stuff they said about Charlie Kirk, whatever? And the argument that I heard from the right for why it was justified for them to do so was because if you're a Republican, um, they use this excuse a lot with like teachers and nurses and people that worked in public service of some kind, or
Yeah.
even like restaurant employees, right? Anything public service wise. The argument that I heard from them was, if you're a Republican, do you trust your doctor who was celebrating Charlie Kirk's death to treat you, to treat you like, do you trust them? Do you think that they're gonna give you the proper care if they have these kinds of views against people like you? And I'm like, do you not hear what you're saying right now? Because the exact argument you're making, that's an argument that I might even be willing to accept. I actually am sympathetic to that view because it's the same argument that I'm making from the other side. I'm like, you just
Yeah.
don't hear yourself, because I'm making the same point. It This is the same thing with the military, right? Do you trust that these people will protect you when they're over here cheering for swatting Democrats when Trump says it? I'm like, okay, so you do get it. So you understand the principles. When you're going to defend your actions with that excuse, that tells me, oh, you do get it. It's just selectively applied. Same thing with like freedom of speech,
Yes.
right? The same people whining and crying about getting a Twitter ban are the same people clapping like trained seals for Kimmel getting kicked off of
Mm-hmm.
ABC, right? I'm like, okay, so it was wrong for Twitter to ban you for lying about COVID or whatever the fuck. Who cares? It was wrong for Twitter to ban you then, but it's okay for the chair of the FCC to basically tell ABC on live TV, like, we're gonna come after you if you don't kick this guy off your platform. It's the selective application is infuriating
Yes.
of principles. So I make, I go on the whole rant of like, oh, have we forgotten our principles? And then I have to catch myself because I'm like, no, 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 stop thinking like that. We didn't forget. No one forgot. We all still know. It's just applied where it's convenient. And that's you asked the question of how do
Mm-hmm.
we come back from this? I honest to God think that's the answer. Um, no one has forgotten why we care about freedom of speech. No one's forgotten why we don't like politicizing these public service type things. Police, military, even like doctors and stuff. Like, again, I sympathize with that. If your doctor is saying, "Good, I'm glad Charlie got killed," and then you're a Republican, that's your, and you see this post and you're like, "That's my fucking doctor, bro." Like, maybe I don't have faith in this guy to give me adequate treatment anymore. I agree. I sympathize with that. Sure. I think the way we fix everything is by reapplying our principles across the board. We say, okay, we do care about freedom of speech for everyone. We do care about not politicizing uh, areas that shouldn't be across the board. We do care about this or that across the board. It's the selective application, I think, of of
Mm-hmm.
of what we care about is what's killing us, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole Charlie Kirk thing. I mean, I didn't hear people saying, I'm glad he's dead. I heard
No.
people saying,
Not
he
from
was a
not from
horrible
like
person.
yeah, not from big voices. Like you would see it
Right.
yeah, no one like I didn't see anyone like big creators or journalists or media people or politicians especially. I didn't see any of that. But like you would what it's funny what they would point to is so you'd have like a big creator say I don't know. Well, Destiny's a part of on Fuck America. He's a good example of him being like pointing out like, hey, this is inevitable because of the way you guys act. All right, like stuff like this is gonna happen. It's gonna keep happening. So you see him making
Hmm.
he'll make that point on stream or whatever, right? And then you'll go on TikTok and you'll see someone with 10 followers being like, "Yeah, I'm glad he died." And those two things in their mind are the same.
Yeah.
Those are the same
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, no, no, stop it. Like these are not the same thing. Okay, you have one person being prescriptive, like, hey, the environment that has been created is what's causing this stuff, and then you have other people celebrating. Stop pretending like this is the same thing. It just isn't.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I didn't see there was no big people cheering it on.
No. And, I went on right after it happened. And I mean, like as part of the Unfuck America tour, I had a different relationship with Charlie. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
stitched his content all the time, right? Like
yeah,
I constantly was calling him out. Um, and I immediately went into my stories and was like, this isn't to be celebrated. This is
mm,
political violence. We need to take a stand against this and whatever. And it was so fascinating the hate I got from both the right and the left. Like
yeah,
I couldn't do anything fucking right, right? Like the right was like, "Oh, well you were constantly bashing Charlie." I'm like, "No, no. I didn't bash Charlie. I just refuted what he said with facts." You
yeah,
know? Like that's not bashing Charlie. I never went after Charlie himself. I went after what his talking points were. And then the left is like, why are you being okay? Like he was a horrible person. And it's like, he still didn't deserve to die. Nobody
yeah,
deserves to be assassinated, you know? Like
yeah,
it was just like, I can't do anything right now.
yeah. There's a couple issues like that. Those are the ones I try my best to avoid those issues. Though, there's a couple that are like that where there is no winning. You just cannot win.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna get cooked from one side or the other, or but well,
Yes.
both sides regardless. Um, I try to just avoid I didn't say anything after Charlie got killed. Like I'll just say that I didn't say anything. I obviously like I'm not gonna keep making videos about him like to shit on it. Like because you said like I didn't go you were like I don't I never went after Charlie. I did, okay? And I'll say that right now. I went after him all the time. I think he was a dishonest uh shill to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um so I went after his character plenty, but like I'm not gonna obviously I'm not gonna like after he's already dead, I'm not gonna hop on TikTok and be like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what, he was a liar and he was a government bootlicking shill, so whatever. Like I'm not gonna like I just cut it out, so like he
Hmm.
died. And I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna fucking go defending his character, and I'm not gonna attack him either. I'm done. We're done with this. Um, like I have said like dozens of times since then, like we should this is fucking America. We should like the fact that we're having political assassinations in America is unhinged. Like if I lived in Mexico, well, actually Mexico's cleaned their shit up in the last couple decades. Okay, so
Right. Right.
that's not even a great example. But if I lived in like Hungary and like my and like the big political pundits were getting assassinated, I wouldn't bat an eye because that's the shit you expect. This is America. What are we doing? It's ridiculous.
Hmm.
But to Destiny's point, this is the environment that has been created. Um,
Hmm.
However you attribute that, wherever you attribute fault, I know where I attribute fault, but however you attribute fault to that, I think it's undeniable at this point. Like this is the environment we are in. This is where we are. Now the question now becomes, we could play the blame game, I guess. We could say like, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your sure, fine, whatever. I think the important question now is like, all right, how do we get out? No one wants to be here. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in the environment. Like I go to these events where we are going to a TPUSA event soon. We'll be at Amfest, right? I in a world where I know that I will personally be at these places where
Yeah.
this happened. I don't want to live. I don't want to be here. I don't want to live in this world.
Hmm.
So the question becomes, how do we get out? And I mean, like I said, I truly believe it's a principles issue. It's let's go back to applying stuff across the board instead of applying it just to one side, right? Like the people, I'm sorry, I just can't take you seriously if you are complaining about Twitter censorship and then you just have nothing to say about the FCC stuff. I'm like, I'm so well, okay.
Right,
I just
right.
can't. I cannot take your opinion seriously. I'm sorry. Okay, you either apply it across the board or you don't. And if you don't, then we stay here. This is the world we stay in.
I just posted one, I think it was just this morning or last night about the whole I stitched this gal who was like, "Oh, the My Body My Choice crowd forced us to take vaccines." And I'm like, "Nobody forced you." Like
Yeah, that narrative is insane to me. But nobody forced you to do shit, buddy.
no. I mean, I do believe my body, my choice, like
Yeah,
across the board. And I included vaccines in that. If you don't want a vaccine, you shouldn't be forced to take it. But we didn't like it
yeah,
was a fucking global pandemic. If you wanted to go to another country, you had to show proof of vaccine, but you had that choice. You didn't have to go to that other country. You didn't have to have the vaccine.
yeah,
Like you still had a choice in the matter. Nobody took that choice away
yeah.
from you.
It's funny. That's a topic that I just don't like talking about COVID stuff, but that particular topic, the like vaccine mandate stuff, is a topic that I do like talking about because I feel like I can come at it from a position of like deep authority. Because out of if you examine every single demographic in the entire United States, nobody was forced was more forced to take the vaccine than me, than my demographic. I was in the
The
military at the time.
military.
There's
Yeah.
nobody that was more forced to take it than we were, and I don't feel like I was forced to take it because they were explicit. They were, oh my God, I can't tell you how explicit they were. They literally like it was very like my leadership at the time was like, listen, this is the deal. Okay, this vaccine's out. It's mandated for us. You don't have to take it. You don't. You will get kicked out. That's a fact. You will. But you don't have if you're terrified, if you think, oh, it's gonna kill me, it's gonna do this, it's gonna do that, don't fucking take it. Just leave. It's fine.
Hmm.
So and then people but people equate that with like, oh, so they forced so like I had a debate with a guy on this.
Right.
He's like, what you just said, they did force you. And I'm like, what does the word forced mean? What
Hmm.
does force mean? It means they remove your choice. You don't
Hmm.
get a choice. That's a choice definitionally. Definitionally, that is a choice. It's do you want to stay here and keep doing this? Do you want to, remain in the military, or do you want to not take this vaccine? Those are your options. You can not take it, but you're gone, or you can take it and stay. That's a fucking choice. It's
And like
goofy.
the military is a great example too of like you have to have all your other vaccines before you go into the military.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first day of boot camp,
Hmm.
you hop in a line and you walk down the line and get
Yep.
shot, 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 shot.
MMR,
Yeah, yeah.
tetanus, yeah,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah,
So,
people make that argument of like I don't even make that argument. Like I just like that argument because that's like a what I would call like a fallback argument. You can make the fallback argument of like, well, like you already got forced to take 10 other vaccines. What's one more? But I don't even think you need to get that far in the conversation. The conversation starts and stops at you didn't
mhm,
have to, motherfucker. You didn't have
there was
to.
no force.
You could have
Yeah.
just said no. Like it wasn't that hard. And shit, like now it's even more so for one because like one of the first or like on his within his first week actually I don't know if it was his first day but within the first week of office Trump signed an executive order to let all the people if you got kicked out of the military because you didn't take the COVID vaccine he signed an executive order like as soon as he came back into office that you could rejoin um like with no consequence you could just come back if you want to
Hmm.
so I'm like okay like look at that. It worked out. You got your guy helped you. All right. He let you come back if you wanted to come back. Um, without, having taken it. But at the time, and here's another okay, I'll finish on the COVID topic with this. Nobody ever wants to talk about this. The only reason I will die on this hill that we even talk about the vaccine mandates is because COVID's lethality ended up being low. It ended up being low. We didn't know that ahead of time, right? When the outbreak, like when it started on day
It
one,
was like
it
New
was like,
York City
yeah,
was horrible.
we're thinking like, ooh, there's a non-zero chance this is gonna wipe out a big chunk of the world population. This is
Hmm.
fucked. It ended up not being that way. Okay, the lethality rate was quite low. If it wasn't, imagine there was a disease that started
Right.
and we had a vaccine for it, and the lethality rate for this disease, let's say same infectiousness, because COVID wasn't ridiculously infectious, same infectiousness, but let's say the lethality was like 30%. Like you had a 30% chance of death if you caught it. The same motherfuckers that are crying are crying about COVID, or about vaccine mandates, which didn't exist, by the way, but crying about vaccine mandates would be like pointing a gun at you with with the gun in one hand and a shot in the other. Like, you're gonna take this right now. Like, you're gonna kill my family if you don't take this shot. So they like to sit on this principle of it's like, it's my body, my choice. Ironic argument, but they like to sit on
Right.
this. They like to die on this hill of like vaccine mandates are wrong all the time, and I'm like, no. If it was the Black Plague, you wouldn't be saying this. You'd be
Mhm.
you'd be all for vaccine mandates. You only get to have this position. This is a privilege. You only get this privileged position because it turned out that it didn't wipe out half the world. But if it
Yes.
did, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Right.
You'd be
Right.
you'd be praying at the altar of Joe Biden if he had vaccine mandates for a disease that killed half the world.
And I love all the people who blame Biden for the shutdown, and
Yeah,
it was like,
all the shutdowns happened under
um,
Trump. Yeah, stupid.
that was Trump.
We're seeing it again. I don't know if you caught wind of this one. It's happening again right now. There's a renewed interest in the. I just made a video about this. I think it was Chuck Grassley, uh, posted some documents, or posted a letter that he received from Howard Lutnick, talking about how the 2020 census was, like, a fraud. It was like the 2020 census was a fraud. Democrats got, like, they rigged the numbers to give themselves more seats or whatever. So I looked into it. It turns out, and we already knew this because in 2022, under Joe Biden, the Census Bureau put out a report like saying like, yes, the count was fucked, because we did it during COVID. It was really hard to collect it.
Mhm.
It was accurate data was rough in 2020, right? So so they put out this report saying, yes, you're correct. The numbers were fucked. This is 2022. Turns out what fucked the numbers, the problem was twofold. A, collecting data was hard as shit during COVID. As you can imagine, it was
Yeah.
not easy to get all these numbers collected. That's Trump. Okay.
Right.
So step one, Donald Trump was the president when this data was
Yep.
collected. Okay. Step two, their claim is that the privacy, methodology. So when the Census Bureau publishes its statistics, like, they don't want to leak people's private like, PII on people, by accident when they're publishing census data. So there's like different privacy formulas they use. They used a new one for the first time in the 2020 census, and it caused I think it was 1/10 of 1% error. So a 0.1% error in the number. So there was some calculation error because of this formula.
Sure.
And the release of the data, the formulation and release of the data happened under Biden. So that's the claim now. The claim has shifted from the Democrats faked the numbers, like literally put out fake statistics in order to give themselves more seats. To Biden used this really shady new methodology, and it fucked the numbers up. But then when you look into it, it's 0.1% error.
Right.
That's already hilarious. You're like, oh my god, fucking these clowns, right? That's already funny, right? Guess who? Guess who got the contract or signed off on that new methodology being used?
Oh, yeah, I'm shocked to
Fucking
know,
Trump in
but yeah,
2018. So
shocking.
I'm like, so the narrative is the numbers were fake to give Democrats more seats, and it's the Biden admin. The Biden admin is the one that did it because they're the ones that formulated the numbers and put them out, right? It was a 0.1% difference on numbers that were already fucked up because of COVID, collected under Trump, and the person that signed off on this new formula being used was Trump. So I'm like this.
You can't make this
I
shit
don't know
up.
what we're doing anymore. I don't know what's going on. So I say this to say it's like it's the same bullshit with the COVID vaccines. I'm like, oh, so what you do is you just lie to make something seem like it was horrible, and then I trace back all the sourcing on your lies, and it always, for some reason, I don't know why this is, but it always seems to come back to some stupid fuck up from Trump. I don't. What's going on there? Uh,
And it's
I,
like they're incapable of looking up the information like
yeah.
you did, right? Like,
Yeah, well, this was easy, but like the Census Bureau website like publishes all of their anything that changes with the census. There literally is a note on their website that says like 2018 Census Bureau switches over to this new methodology for private. I'm
I
like,
can't
no,
believe Trump hasn't taken that down
that's
yet.
right there. I know, actually, yeah, that's actually surprising with them like removing studies on political
Yeah,
violence and
right,
stuff. Yeah, from
right.
was it the
Yes.
DOJ had that stuff? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that was one of my biggest fears with this administration. Like pretty early on, after I saw like by like March when I saw like
Hmm.
what we were getting into, I think I made a couple videos on this. Like the way you'll know that we're like truly fucked, is when data starts getting
Yep.
released, because all of our like data collection stuff is done, well, not all, like there's independent agencies that do it, but a lot of the data we rely on a day-to-day basis is published by the government. And like when data reports start coming out, like when the jobs report comes out and it says like we added like 500,000 new jobs, like we're fucked. That's how you know like we're cooked at this point. When they start just like manipulating the data, right?
Yep.
We start
Yep.
as soon as we start getting like data manipulation, nah, we're done.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's kind of dystopia becoming reality.
Yeah, I mean like the we are like venturing into dystopian stuff. I think the probably the two worst things that Trump that's going on right now with the administration is the weaponization of the DOJ is
Hmm.
horrific, and
Yep.
then the National Guard stuff into states is also horrific.
Yeah.
Because well, that one is because every state that he's gone into, we've seen slight each time. There's been slight escalations each time. And just in terms of like California was the first, and it was that alone was horrific, right? That was terrible. But then
Yeah.
each time thereafter, it's been a little worse, a little worse, a little worse, a little worse. And so you take that, you like expand on that data, right? You have a data set of like, okay, so it seems like it just keeps getting slightly worse each time. Expand that data and try to predict or like try to imagine what it's going to be like in I don't know. I pick a random year. I don't know. Let's say 2028 November. I don't know. Just spitball in here. Let's say what's the militarization or the occupation I'd call it of American cities going to look like in November of 2028? Fucking spooky. Not yeah. So
Yep.
that's horrible. And
Yep.
then yeah, like I said, the DOJ stuff, like the fact that we have the president now like openly calling for prosecution of political enemies. Um, that alone would be like that alone is impeachable and well not I was going to say in my eyes it should be
Yeah.
in everyone's eyes if we lived in a normal reality. Ask the president tweeting like, hey Pam, can you prosecute this dickhead that I don't like that should be enough to be like, okay, you can't be president, like you of course you can't be president.
Yep.
But then you add on to the fact that we find out that he already had prosecutors investing Letitia James and Comey, like these people, and the prosecutors came back with nothing and said, "Hey, we don't have a case here. We can't do this. Like, there's nothing. There's no evidence. We can't get these guys. Sorry." And then he says, "Nah, do it anyway." That's okay. So now we have
Yeah.
another layer of fucked. Yeah, those two
Yep.
things are the things that I think if America does if this is the end of the experiment, it'll be on the backs of those two things. I think.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't like where we're headed right now. It's really
No,
frightening.
not good.
Yeah. Well,
Not good.
Andrew, this has been such good conversation. I want to make sure people know how to find you, how to follow you. Um, you're basically AndrewJD 14 kind of across most platforms, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If you just look up Andrew
Insta.
JD on pretty much any platform, you're gonna find me.
Yep.
Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. You'll find me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And
You.
I look forward to working with you on the next couple tour stops with Unfuck
Yeah.
America. And yeah, thanks for
All
being
right.
here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, that is a wrap for this episode of Unfiltered Dissent. If today's conversation resonated with you, please share this episode and subscribe so that you never miss an update. If you'd like to help support the Unfuck America tour, go to the Act Blue link in the show notes. And if you'd like to support the show and help amplify more dissent, join me on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Amy Zalmer. Your support helps keep these conversations unfiltered and unapologetic. And also, if you're not already following me, I'm at Amy Zellmer on Instagram. I share lots of content every day and ways to get involved. And so until next time, stay bold, stay loud, and never stop questioning the narrative. Because when we speak up, we don't just resist, we create change.